All right, good day. Hope everybody is well. This is Miss Lynn Eisen again. So we've made it through week one and on the first PBL, and now we're ready to go to week two. Congratulations. Thank you to you students for doing a really good job of putting your PowerPoints together and answering those questions. Most of you did an excellent job. So this week is actually, I think, going to be a little bit easier. We're kind of more used to the whole project in general, so that's going to make it a little bit easier. And then additionally, um, you've already done a lot of the work in that first week. So let's just go ahead and get started on what we're going to be doing this week. Of course, I can't see. Here we go. All right, sorry about that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what we have left to do on the PBL, just sort of in general. Okay, get that out of the way. So we're just the same. It's the same PBL. We'll be doing this until the end of this month. May 1st is your last assignment that is due. So, again, just kind of go over that you have the rubric, you know how you're going to be graded. We've done these first two assignments out of the first two out of six, so we've got that. Thank you for turning it in, and most of yours look really awesome. So this week we're going to be looking at fluctuating prices and then also finishing up your guided questions. So those are the two things that you have to submit this week. So what you'll do for the paragraph, we'll talk kind of more in depth about that in a little bit, but for the second assignment, all you really have to do is answer question number 4. So you'll use that same Google slide or however you did it, PowerPoint, that you turned in last week, and you're going to just refine it this week. So you might find as you look at the videos for this week that you have a little bit deeper understanding. You might decide that you want to change the things you already submitted. So you're welcome to do that this week. That's what you're going to be working on. So this week should not be difficult. So we've already done the Ignite. So now we're on the Discover and Connect section. So this is basically the middle section. And so we're looking at what is globalization. So this is information that you already know. We're just going to be expanding on that a little bit. And then you've got for the same guided questions, it's exactly the same guided questions. So that's what's going to be through the whole project. But now we've got the advantages and disadvantages of globalization, globalization and trade examples, and the negative impacts of globalization. So that's what we're going to be looking at this week is now that we have a general idea of globalization is and who it helps and who it hurts, we're going to be just digging a little bit deeper into um, the negative impacts. She looked last week at some of the positive impacts. So all of these two assignments are going to be guided by these videos. Just to kind of go over what comes next. So in the final week, the two assignments that you're going to be responsible for in the final week are you're going to submit a two paragraph response to the driving question, how does globalization impact the U.S. economy? And then you're also going to submit your published presentation. So remember that published presentation can be a video, a TikTok. It can be anything where you are answering the driving question. It is definitely not too early to start thinking about how you're going to put that together, to be thinking about some ideas. So if you come to my tutorials this week, the first couple of days, probably Monday and Tuesday, we'll be going over this week's assignments and kind of just making sure everybody understands. We'll be watching the videos just like we did last week, understand them. We'll work on that on Wednesday, and then towards the end of the week, I think would be appropriate time to really start delving into how you're going to do your final project. Alrighty. So let me get back to the PowerPoint. Oops, I don't know if I did that right. So there we go. That's where we were. Now, you have a singular paragraph that you have to turn in this week. So my assumption, and I'm not the grammar police by any stretch of the imagination, it's not my strong suit, but since you just have the one paragraph, let's make that one paragraph fantastic. So I have put in here, I have put in a link to a web page that has a whole bunch of tools you can use to help you with your revising and editing. So my suggestion would be that you go to that. Here, I'll open it up for you. Some of these you can use. Some of these are free, some of them you might have to buy a subscription. There's also so many other good ones that will help you to make your writing just really fantastic. So, whatever you would like to use to make your writing really great. These are just some ideas. There's certainly some other ones. I shared some in my virtual classrooms last week. So just something where you are able to make your present your one single paragraph really stand out and really be awesome. It doesn't take that long. A paragraph is usually from 5 to 7 sentences. We'll talk more about sort of what we'll be looking for in the paragraph as we move along. All right, I have, and I'm going to send you this PowerPoint also. Um, these first two, these are the guiding questions, and then there's a revision checklist in your PBL. And it looks like this. I'm not going to show you the guided questions because I feel like we looked at them a lot last week. So basically, these are the things to ask yourself. Like when you're finishing up your PowerPoint, did you answer all the guided questions? Did you answer the driving question? This is really for your presentation, but basically, when you're thinking about turning in things, what you really want to focus on is, did I answer all the questions? That's what you really want to focus on. And then, as far as in your that this is not the multimedia components. This is, have you included a slide that gives an overview of your research question? Does the arrangement of words and images on your slides make them easy to read? Is your font size and font choice readable? These are all things as you are moving forward with your presentation and with your final PowerPoint you want to be thinking about. There, as a person who's looking at PowerPoints, and I've looked at a lot of PowerPoints just historically and on this project, really just that ability for me to very easily to understand what you're trying to communicate to me is the number one thing. So font choice, some of you had the pictures kind of over the top of the words. Those type of things are very important. So make sure you're paying attention to those things that can distract from what you're trying to say if they're not really good. Okay. Um, And then this final thing in the useful documents is what I thought was a really good checklist for writing specifically. So this is checklist for revising and then checklist for editing. And these are just things that I think you already know as a person who's probably written lots of paragraphs at this point, but just things to help you really to understand. I also don't think it would be a bad idea if you had maybe someone else kind of go over this, go over your writing. As I know for me, a lot of times, like when I'm presenting something, I'll look at it, I've looked at it, and then when I look at it again, when it's already up on the wall for all the world, all my students to see, I'll notice that what I thought I was saying and what I really said were two totally different things. So if you have somebody else look over it, I think that can be quite helpful. So just to let me get back to Go backwards a little bit just to kind of um, go over this again. Let's go back to the PBL. So your two assignments, I'm going to go up to where the assignments are. Sorry, it's not being very cooperative today. Remember, we've done the first two assignments. You are going to be working this week on a paragraph for fluctuating prices and then completing your guided questions PowerPoint. Make sure that you're really planning ahead because next week you're going to write a paragraph that's going to be a two question paragraph, hello, sorry, a two paragraph assignment about that answers the driving question, the how does globalization impact the US economy? And you are going to be preparing your final presentation. So I think it's super important as you finish up the research this week that you're really thinking ahead about what you're going to do next week. It'll make it a lot easier if you start thinking about it. We will please come to my my virtual classrooms. And if you're not in my PBL group, you absolutely can come to my virtual classrooms. I'd love to have you. Everybody, of course, is welcome, but please be checking in with your grader to make sure that you're on track the way that they're going to grade it. Because we have a general idea, but of course, everybody does things a little bit different. So make sure you're checking in with them. If you do not, if you are in my grading group, and I am your grader, and you do not want to come to the virtual classrooms, they are not mandatory. Please, please, please communicate with me. Share your products with me before you turn them in, just so that I can give you some feedback on it. Um, to get a good grade on this is not difficult, but if you're not getting some feedback from me, then it makes it a little bit more difficult. It's totally okay if you don't want to come to the virtual meetings, or if you can't, you might not be able to. Just communicate with me via email, and I can always do, if the virtual meetings don't work for you time-wise, we can always do a real quick Google Hangout, just the two of us, to kind of make sure you're on the right track. All right, we'll have a fantastic week. I will hopefully be seeing you in the classroom. Thanks.